knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Welcome to the third hour of the show today. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. I have with me Veronica Tugaliva, a writer, editor, and musician living in Toronto, Canada. She's passionate. She's a passionate advocate for compassion and positive change, or realness. She likes realness. Veronica, I wanted to talk to Veronica about her article, Confessions from a Formal Psycho B from Hell. I can't say the word B on radio, the whole word, but you get my point. Confessions from a Formal Psycho B from Hell. Veronica, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. You write about how you spent most of your life wanting to be perfect and how you had very few friends as a kid and spent most of your time planning how you would become perfect. How did you get to this idea that you wanted to be perfect? How did that come about?
I would have to say that was my family. I mean, I was supposed to be number one, and that was just kind of something that I thought was possible. So I would strive to be number one in a lot of things. And then, when it came to being a good person, there really wasn't a number one. So I just kept reaching for it, but I kept turning up blind.
That's interesting. In your article, you tell the story of how, about your first love. You write that after years of listening to men talk about their psycho B from hell, girlfriends, and swallowing hard, knowing I've been there, I've never, ever met a woman who confessed to ever being a psycho B from hell. What is a psycho B from hell?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Jesse. This phrase was actually coined by another writer for the Good Men Project, where I had the article published. And he wrote this article called In Defense of Psycho Bs from Hell. And he was saying that there's a phenomenon, and he travels the world, and he said that everywhere he goes in the world, when men get together, there's a certain point in the night when they start sharing the stories of their crazy ex-girlfriends. Like, she did this, and then she threw this at me, and then she said this, and oh, she was crazy. And I've heard these, and I spent a huge portion of my life around men, and it's true when you get into a social situation, those stories start coming up, and I always just listened, and I had these memories of doing these things when I was younger, and I was like, ouch, I don't know what to say.
You say that you've never met a woman who confessed to ever being a psycho B. Why do you think that women don't admit to that?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's just, even writing the article, it took some courage, because it's basically coming out and saying, hey, I was crazy. I think women get followed around with being crazy, while men get followed around with being angry, with being violent, and being accused of being the worst stereotype of your gender is, I think it's something we all really try to hide from. And I mean, compassion requires that we take that stereotype and we're like, okay, what's really going on here? There's no such thing as crazy. There's just what I was doing.
Yeah.
But it took a second to be able to admit that, for sure.
Yeah, the ego will not allow you to admit that if you're not ready to overcome. I have noticed over the last, I would say, 20 years or so, that's when I started paying attention to it, women have been given permission to be a psycho B, and there are laws to prevent you from even correcting them when you see it happening. I've noticed that women are, not all, but they are attacking men. They're more violent with men. They will slap men in public, and they are not expected to be slapped back. And if the man does defend himself, he has to go to jail. Does that encourage the psycho B to come out even more so?
Well, I think it's about starting at the beginning, really, because I think it's going to come out regardless if you've got and I think this goes for men and for women, if you've got somebody who's overloaded with shame and somebody who really feels like they need love, they need attention and appreciation and significance, and they don't know how to get it. And some people, the only way that they know how to feel important is to resort to violence because they grew up in an extremely deprived environment. And it just gets dangerous when you get into a relationship with people like that. And I mean, I was a person like that, and now I wouldn't get violent against anything or anyone.
Yes.
But at that point in my life, I just I had no self-esteem. I had no self-love. I had no good feelings about myself. So when I was first with my ex, I was like, wow, love. Yeah. It was the best thing ever. And then I started feeling like it was being taken away from me.
Yeah, you write about that, how you met your first love in high school. You got really involved with him. And being with him consumed you completely and wholeheartedly. It felt better than anything else. Tell us about that.
Well, when I didn't really have, I didn't realize that I didn't have self-esteem until I realized what self-esteem felt like. I mean, when you never feel something, you just think it doesn't exist. So when I felt love towards another person, towards this guy, I felt love, and I felt loved. And I had never really felt loved, not from myself, not really from my family. So when I felt loved from him, I was like, wow, this beats everything. Like, nothing else mattered. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to read. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to have this feeling. And he definitely didn't feel the same. I mean, he loved me, and I know that, but to him it wasn't like blood, and to me it was like blood. It was like air. I just needed it, and I needed it right then, and I didn't actually know any other way to get it except from him. And I think you can see how that's a dangerous situation.
It is. That's rough. You're right that the more you got from him, your first love, the more you wanted.
Yeah, it's true. And the more I needed reassurance, I think, because I felt like an eventual abandonment. And you gave a bit of an old bio on me at the beginning. What I'm actually doing now, I'm doing coaching, like relationship coaching, and something that I really try to get into is that we as women, we have to be willing to share ourselves completely, but with that, we have to be okay when there's no one else there.
Yes.
And so something that happens when you're like not okay with yourself is that when the partner goes away, then you have nothing. And I think in that period, that's when you become crazy. Like, that's when the crazy breeds. Like, he's gone, and what am I going to do?
I know what you mean. 888-775-3773. We're going to take a quick break. We will get to your calls, folks. Back in a moment. Okay, welcome back. It's Manhood Hour. Very, very, very important and interesting article with my guest, Veronica Tugaliva, out of Canada. Confessions from a Former Psycho B from Hell. A lot of men are dealing with this type of situation that are in their lives. They don't know what to do with it, so they end up walking away. We're going to tell you how Veronica would tell you how she was able to overcome that condition, for the lack of better words. Veronica, you write about your first love in high school. You say being with him meant I never, ever had to feel pain. It was like that for a few years, just pure painless bliss. First, tell me, what does it feel like not to feel pain? And then secondly, what did the pain feel like once he was gone?
Well, to not feel it was, it was a surprise at first. I was surprised because I would watch movies, I would watch these romantic comedies, and when I was younger, I would get really frustrated because the lovers would chase each other all around town, and they wouldn't give up, and they would get into jet planes, and I was like, well, just leave him already. Like, when I was younger, I didn't understand. I was like, why would you work so hard to be with a person? And then when I felt love for the first time, I was like, wow, this is I get it. I got it. I wanted it. And just all of those scripts that were running in my head about how I wasn't good enough and had a lot of anxiety at the time, it just went completely on silent. Like,
so,
around him, there was...
No, go ahead.
Sorry?
Finish your point. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. With him, everything was just on silent. And when he left, it just got louder and louder and louder because I wasn't dealing with the issues there. I was just muting them out.
Yeah, you say that the moments without him became torture. So with him, you felt no pain, but whenever you were not around him or he was not around you, it became torture to you. In what way?
Well, I started thinking about how much I hated myself, to be honest, and I kept feeling like he was going to abandon me. And because I started feeling like he was going to abandon me, I think I started acting needy. And neediness, as we all know, it's a huge turnoff to men, because what neediness from a woman essentially shows to a man is, I don't trust you. I don't trust you to be there for me. So I feel like I have to beg for it. And I think that kind of trust will really get in a man's ego. And, at the time I was going through all these things and I just didn't understand what was happening. So I thought it was him. I thought it was all his fault. And,
Yep.
And I blamed him for it, and increasingly he got more and more agitated with the situation, I could tell you.
I like the way you worded that. You say that the moments without him became torture. Being alone meant being with my thoughts. Being alone with my thoughts meant an endless tirade of insults. That's deep. Explain that to us.
Yeah, well, I say a lot. I say a lot in my writing that there's no such thing as loneliness. You're never really alone. You're with yourself all the time.
Yes.
You can only ever feel lonely when you don't like the person you're with. People will feel lonely in a marriage because they feel like they don't like the person they're with, and people will feel lonely by themselves because they don't like what's going on inside their head. And when I was by myself, it was you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, he's going to leave you. And when you say those things to yourself, they become true. They really do.
Yep, that's true, because we are justified or condemned by our words. And I don't think people realize that. They bring this upon themselves.
Oh, they do. They do.
You say that you started to fight a lot. You start fighting a lot. He drank every night. I threatened to kill myself. You guys finally broke up. So you threatened, and why were the fights were there? Because you had become so needy, and that's what started the fights?
Well, I do think I started the fights most of the time. He would come home and I would feel like he wasn't paying attention to me. And I look back to the way that I was back then, and it just felt like there was a demon inside of me.
Yes.
And it would just wake up, and I just couldn't control myself. There was like this rage, there was this sadness, there was all these feelings that I found out years later had nothing to do with him.
That's
they were
right.
just feelings that I had to deal with from my own past, but I thought they had everything to do with him. So I took it out on him, and he fought back, and we fought really hard for a while. Yeah.
So was he drinking before the fight started, or there was something he got into later?
That was something he got into later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it because he really didn't know how to handle the situation with you, or maybe he didn't understand it?
Well, yeah, and I mean, we moved out on our own. So when it all started, we were still in school. We were still living with our parents. So we moved out on our own. So all these realities came into play. You know, we both had jobs. We didn't see each other. And, you know, we went on vacation throughout all of this for a month, and we didn't fight for a day. Like, when we were connected, when I felt like when his attention was on me, we were perfect. But when real life came into play, and when there wasn't that time between us, then I slowly started losing it.
Yes. Before we get into how you were able to overcome this, and I love the way you explained how you were able to overcome it. What were you raised by father and mother, both father and mother?
Yes, I was.
And who were you closest to?
Well, myself. Yeah,
So you were not close.
We were immigrants, so we came to Canada when I was 8 years old, and both of my parents had they were both doctors back in the Ukraine, and when we came here, they lost everything. So when I was a kid, I was alone a lot of the time. I didn't.
Oh.
They really weren't around ever, and you know, they fought a lot too. So
Right.
I didn't really feel close to either of them.
Oh, that's why the emptiness was there, where you felt like you needed love from your boyfriend in such a deep way. I have to tell you, reading up on you last night, it was very, very interesting, and I knew I was going to enjoy this conversation. And the reason for it, Veronica, before I woke up, I was the same way. I was like that with women. Every time I would meet a woman, it would bring pure joy to me. I felt like the whole world was just fine. I had no pain, no problems. Everything was fine. I became addicted to her. And once that new love started to wear off, because that stuff doesn't last, I would want to break up with her, but I could not break up with her unless I had another new girlfriend waiting in the wing. I wasn't able to just leave on my own. I'll finish that thought when I come back from this break. Then I want you to tell the folks how you were able to overcome this. Very, very powerful. 888-7753-773. 888-77-JESSE. And she will take your call, folks. Back in a moment. Okay, welcome back. Talking with Veronica about formal psycho bees. And she's going to tell you how to overcome it. You can overcome it. I just love and appreciate her honesty about it. And we're going to tell you how to get to a website and read her articles, her blogs, and things like that. And it will help you, without a doubt. If you want help, she will be able to help you, ladies and men, how to overcome this. Veronica, I was saying that I know what you're talking about. I didn't get quite as bad as you were with it, and as bad as I've seen other people act out. But I would be, when I'm dealing with a woman, I would be so, it was like the kingdom of heaven on earth, really. But when we would break up or start arguing, you hear these thoughts and you feel the pain of it. It's like you losing your soul. And then when you break up, you can barely breathe, you can barely sleep, you don't want to eat, you don't want to do anything. And that was awful. And I had gotten to a point that in order to break up with one woman, I would have to have another one waiting in the wings because I was not able to deal with it alone. Does that make sense?
No, of course it does. It does, yeah.
But I overcame that because I started to understand about myself. Let me just ask this, and then I want to get into how you were able to overcome this and give out information for the folks. Did you ever work out the lack of love or issues you had with your parents because they were not there to give you what you needed? Did you work that out with them?
Well, I've been kind of going through this process where I had to forgive it all by myself before I could deal with them. And at this very moment, it's pretty difficult to work out anything with them. But I do try, and they're a bit hard to talk to, but I have all the compassion and all the forgiveness for them
Yes.
in the world. And I think they try really hard, yeah.
That's good. One day, you write that one day your ex-boyfriend's friend called you accidentally. You picked up the phone and overheard your ex-boyfriend telling a room full of people about his psycho B. I almost said the word. I knew I could almost say it. You heard your ex-boyfriend telling a room full of guys about his ex-psycho B girlfriend. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. His friend, who was also my friend, his phone used to just call me just randomly. I mean, I think it would press a button, and then all of a sudden I'd be listening to his pocket, and it would happen, I would hang up, and it would happen, I would hang up, and this was happening for years. So, so I would pick up, and I'd be like, oh, it's your pocket again. And this time, it was my ex's voice, and it was just, I was horrified. I mean, not only was it exaggerated, I mean, I thought the things that I had done were bad enough, but it was exaggerated, and it was completely missing his side of the story.
Yeah.
And that was really quite a shock. And when I heard about this psycho ex-girlfriend phenomenon later on, I'm like, yeah, I guess the guys really don't say what they did in that situation, and they are likely over-exaggerating as well.
You say that you felt, that fed your hatred for him. To hear him talking about you like that in the room, it created more hatred for you toward him. Oh,
yeah. I mean, when him and I split up, I didn't think I was responsible for anything. I mean, I thought it was all his fault. And just as much as he thought I was crazy, I thought he was angry and violent. And I just didn't want anything to do with him. And I would tell everybody. That I just dated this guy, and he was horrible. He was horrible to me. And that situation, it just fed the story. It was like he was horrible to me, and listen to how he was talking about me, so one-sided, while I was doing the same thing, of course.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Yeah.
That's amazing. I realized in reading this, I've already realized this before, but you confirmed it even more so for me, is that human beings, and maybe not all, but human beings tend not to see their faults in situations. They're always looking at what somebody else did or did not do, but they don't look at their reaction to it or what they contributed to the situation or how they acted in that situation. Have you noticed that?
I have. I think that's our tendency. That's what we do before we learn to do better. That is only the first step, but we can absolutely learn to do better.
And we'll talk about that and explain that when we come back. My final segment with my great, great guest is I'm loving this. Back in a moment. Veronica, I do not want to run out of time without giving out your information. I'm looking at this clock and seeing as though someone is just turning their hands with their hands. Tell the folks how to get to your blog or your website.
Well, actually, I'm a little under construction at the moment. I did have a blog going for a while about authenticity, which is really important to me. I'm switching over to doing coaching right now, so you can still contact me through the old blog, like read through the old articles. So it's authentunity.com. So it's the merger between the word authenticity and unity, so authentunity.com. If you just go to the contact page, you can get in touch with me, and we can chat.
Great. Here's the part that I love, too, and appreciate. Let's see here. You write how you were able to overcome. One night, and this is after you heard your ex-boyfriend talking about you, accidentally heard him talking about you in a room with other guys. One night, you woke up and had a realization that changed your world. Tell us about that.
Well, I guess I just realized that I suddenly realized that I was responsible, that I had a part to play. You know, you said earlier that it's a tendency that we have to blame other people, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, I have a part to play. And up until this point, I would tell all these stories about him, but I really was still very much in love with him in my head. And at that moment, when I realized how responsible I was, and the fact that he didn't want me back ever, like it was never going to work, and I couldn't really handle myself. I started getting all these memories of, wow, I said those things, and I threatened to do those things, and him and I never really got to physical violence, but I think we came pretty damn close, and it was really one of those moments. I don't know if you've had one of these where I felt like a monster. I didn't feel like a good person. I felt like I would never ever be a good person ever again. It was really hard.
Yeah, I understand that. You write that I couldn't give myself compassion without also giving compassion to others. Since that day, everything has been different. I lost all of the psycho. I lost all of the beingness. I left hell.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I tried everything to get out of that state. I mean, I went to all the people that I could have possibly hurt, and I apologized. I apologized to so many people, and some people were like, why are you apologizing? And I was like, well, I feel like I need you to forgive me. I need you to forgive me. And they all forgave me, and I still felt like that. I still felt like a horrible monster, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I was like, aha, The reason that I was acting like that anyway was because I was hurt. I'd been so hurt in the past. And I realized that if I wanted to forgive myself for turning into a monster, I would have to forgive the people who had turned into monsters and done horrible things to me. So I had to forgive them.
Yes.
To forgive myself. It was quite an experience. And, as soon as I forgave, as soon as I gave that forgiveness and said, and like, I forgive you, everything changed. So I didn't need to be forgiven, really, by anyone but myself.
Amen, amen, amen. I have to say, I can relate. That's how I was able to leave hell. I remember asking God to help me. What in the world is wrong with me? And I had gone to preachers and other people and asked for help. They didn't know what to tell me to do. So I asked God to show me what was wrong. How could I get better? And he caused me to realize that I resented my parents first, and especially my mother, who had no patience with me, and she tried to turn me away from my father. But I didn't know I resented her or them because I felt emotional love, and I thought that was real love. But God allowed me to see that that was hatred. It wasn't love. And by hating them, I was hating myself, because when you go after other people, you're really doing it to yourself. No one else has to do it to you. You're doing it to yourself. So I forgave them. I went and forgave them, told them I was sorry for hating them, and I told them why. And in that very moment, Veronica, God forgave me, and I was able to let all that go, and I've had perfect peace ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. It's so peaceful. It's so peaceful.
And that's right. And I love the way you say that you have compassion now for others. And I have that too, because I understand now what is driving them, that it's not really them, but it's this thing that's made a home inside of them. And so that's why I wish everybody well, even my enemies, I wish them well, because I know if they can see, they would not do the things that they do. And when you forgive, you're allowed to see life in a different manner.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you've done here and what happened to you and the fact that you are helping other people to overcome as well. Forgiveness is the key. You got to forgive yourself so that you can move forward and you will have the right relationship with others.
Mm-hmm. And I think if I had something to say to men, like if there's men out there listening, men, think back to your psycho ex-girlfriend and, ask yourself, did she have trauma in her life? Is there a reason why she was like that? What was her side of the story? And I think you'll quickly see that the people that have hurt us, they've been way more hurt. They've been so hurt. And all they need is compassion. Somebody can't change into a good person until they get some compassion, and they might as well get it from you.
That's right. It'd be good if they got it from men, because when women realize that men love them in the right way, it's good for the woman's soul to see if her father loves her in the right way, her boyfriend loves her in the right way, her husband loves her in the right way. It's good for the soul, and it's good for the family as well.
Yeah, I mean, a woman has so much power to give, like so nurturing, and the only way to block that off is to not love her. It's true.
Amazing story. I've enjoyed speaking with you. Do you want to give out that website for once again?
It's www.authentunity.com.
Veronica, God bless you.
You too, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
Canada, you're welcome, and Canada is good to have you there. You're good for Canada and the world. So God bless you again, and thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I love you having me.
All right. Have a good day now.
You too.
All right. Back in a moment. Back in a moment.